Technologies. So all of you must be familiar with HCL Technologies, which is a $11 billion IT and engineering services corporation. So what, about 10% of our business, or 20% of our business comes from engineering services, in which medical devices is one of the verticals. So we serve global medtech corporations for the engineering services. So in the next 10 minutes, I will possibly trigger your thoughts. Many a times when we get students, campus hires, when they come to the college, they are really not aware what exactly they will do every day. Once they've studied so many things, everybody has got some idea about product development. It's an invention, product development. That idea is there for all the students. But when you come to the industry, there's a lot more than developing a product. So in the next 10 minutes, I'll try to kindle your thoughts so that you can ask probably the right questions to get some clarity on what you can expect from the industry or what the industry expects. So what you are seeing is basically on some of the industry trends today. I've just summarized. Basically, the trend is there's a lot of movement that's happening in leveraging the digital technologies for advancing the healthcare. So in the overall, there are multiple things the industry is aiming at, medtech industry globally and specifically in India, affordable healthcare, how to really reduce the overall healthcare cost. Second is, in the care continuum, how to shift the expenditure, by moving the patient care from hospital to homes. So in line with that, there are a lot of things that are happening. So in the hospital, there are areas like patient surveillance, connected equipments, real-time locating systems, and then smart QR. These are the areas which are actually happening in the hospital side. In the in-clinic side, there are a lot of devices on the point-of-care side, handheld devices, ambulatory therapies, lab on a chip, coordinated care. Those are the areas which are happening there. Coming to on-body, the wearable devices is really gaining a lot of significance. A lot of smart devices, implants, wearables, and peripherals. In home, we are talking about digital assistants, activity monitoring, especially for geriatric care. Telehealth consultation, you're all familiar with that. Government of India has launched even here. And home medical devices, even the COVID testing, we are talking about home medical devices. So these are the current trends. The important point to note is medtech industry in general will adopt technologies little later compared to the consumer segment. It is because of a very good reason. The technology should mature. Otherwise, we are likely to compromise the safety of the patients or human beings. So there will be a lag for adoption of the technologies. So now the digital adoption is really picked up very well. We are seeing explosive growth in adopting digital technologies into the medical device and healthcare sector. The reason why I'm talking about it is if the student community can really prepare, because the other areas like developing a device, it's all very matured. You have a lot of information available, but the digital technology, digital adoption, cloudification, those are the areas where there is a huge growth. Specifically, India has got an advantage because we have abundant talent available, where we can really contribute for this segment. So now for the the topic is basically what are the opportunities in the biomedical instrumentation space. So these are the opportunities where students get employed, especially for in India. One is the OEM companies where you can get into R&D, manufacturing, quality, or and the second segment is basically the India captive centers. All the global companies, they have their captive centers here, like Philips and GE, all those companies. So we can definitely get an employment there in the biomedical segment. Third is Indian engineering service provider like HCL Technologies. For example, we have close to 8,000 engineers working only in the medical technology segment for global medtech companies. The next one is in the sales and service. You have a lot of distribution because I think more than 70% of the capital equipments are actually imported. So there's a lot of opportunity available on the sales and service then in the hospital segment. So at least, this is what I could think of, how to bucketize the various opportunities for, students from various branches, right? So coming to, what are the companies who are actually providing opportunities in the medtech segment? In the Indian engineering service provider, when you find time, just go into Zeno. This is basically an extract from the Zeno, who is a marketing analyst. They have done a study of all the companies who are offering engineering services for medtech customers. So you are seeing that, the leadership zone, companies like HCL, Capgemini, TCS. So there is a good amount of work that these companies do for customers. These companies may not have products on their own. My friend in the next session probably will be focusing in those areas where, we have our own brand, our own products, what are the opportunities. But I thought, I can focus in the other areas, right? So here, you see a snapshot of global medtech companies where, we have 5,000, 10,000 kind of engineers who are actually offering engineering services, product design, development, manufacturing, the complete support. For example, Becton Dickinson, Baxter, Johnson & Johnson, GE Healthcare, Philips, Siemens. So a lot of product design development are happening from this country for global market. So abundant opportunities available. Now let's come a little bit into what exactly, you people will do, the engineers will do once you join any of these companies, whether it is an OEM or a service provider, or even, assume you are starting your own company. So these are the, this is the product life cycle for the benefit of the students. So one is, we will typically start with the market research or the user needs. There are a lot of startup companies, they will be in the first few boxes. Then comes, the requirement definition, what exactly is needed, especially when it is a new product. You need to really identify the user requirements and system requirements. Then comes the technology development and research. Then you do some kind of proof of concept. Typically, the first 4 boxes, typically you do it as part of your college project or an MTech project. Next comes the system architecture and subsystem definition, design implementation, verification, then clinical validation, regulatory submission, the manufacturing. Then during the life of the product, you need to actually sustain, because a lot of things may become obsolete. You may have to make changes. There could be changes in the standards. So sustaining engineering is one of the key areas. Then medical product has got the requirement of post-market surveillance, where you need to monitor how the product is performing, in terms of the safety and effectiveness for the healthcare community. So these are the various stages of a typical product life in a medtech industry. This is almost followed by all the global corporations. Now, what is different? Because you have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, biotechnology, biomedical engineers, software engineers, all are required to really deliver what we are talking about for the medical devices. But there are some nuances for medtech industry which I thought I should highlight. Typically, you don't get to know about those things in your college days, because your focus is more on the the technology and subjects. The first one is quality system, because when you talk about a mobile phone, you see probably a mobile phone getting released once in 6 months, whereas in the medtech industry, people take quite a good amount of time to release a product into the market. So because the product has to be compliant with some of the standards, and then safety is very, very critical, and verification validation is also very, very critical. You need to provide objective evidence to prove that the product conforms to the specification, plus it is effective and safe. So because of which there is an additional burden in the overall product development and manufacturing and support cycle. So why it is important for you to understand is, there are opportunities for engineers to take up roles in the entire life of the product, right? Now let me come back to the various roles, because I told we have about 7,000, 8,000 engineers who are working from India as well as in client places. So we have an opportunity to understand the typical roles that industry is requiring to deliver to the healthcare community. The first is the biggest one, system engineer. Some of you might be aspiring for starting your own company. So what is very important is this role, top role, system engineer. One of the major comments from many of our customers is very less percentage of people who actually qualify or elevate to the level of systems engineer. It's not a very easy role to play, because you need to have a very good understanding of the user problems, and you need to have a good understanding of the solution. And especially today, the system engineer role in, for example, 1980s is different from the system engineer role in this digital era. So earlier it was more about, if you talk about a ultrasound machine or an ECG machine, it's all about the box, electronics and software. But today, it gets connected to the cloud. There is a safety aspect involved, there's cyber security involved, and it gives connectivity to multiple products across the world, across the globe. So there is a concept of systems. This is another area where we don't have much of a talent, even in our own industry. So we need to develop a little bit of an appreciation for the systems as well. Then comes the traditional things like mechanical engineering, industrial design. The industrial design is very critical because the usability is very important. Because there are a number of deaths that are happening in the hospitals because of usability errors. I'm sure you would have read a lot of things in the newspaper. So the people who are working in the medtech industry, you have to really ensure that the usability, it should be very intuitive and it should be very easy. A nurse or a doctor or a patient should not commit any error. Right? Sometime back you read a news item where instead of oxygen, some other gas was delivered in a hospital. So this is very important. Next, then comes the electrical engineering, embedded software, application software, cloud software, mobile software. The presence of mobile technology is, we developed a product for a global medtech company where you have a continuous blood glucose monitoring installed here, and you have a mobile software which continuously tracks. It increased the effectiveness of diabetes management so well. We have about 60 engineers who really participated in the overall product development cycle. So the graphic user interface. The next one is on the data analytics, artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is another area. I talked about the digital impact. This is one area that's picking up a lot. A country which has got abundant talent in software, we have a huge opportunity. We can have a leadership position. For example, we are running a project, couple of projects from Sri Ramachandra University in terms of how to detect a disease based using AI and ML based on X-ray images. About 13 diseases can be detected. So there's tremendous opportunity, for the students to get into some of these areas, because in many of we need to utilize our strength to become the leader, and this is one area where we can actually show our strength. Now, there are other roles, in addition to developing a product, electrical, software, mechanical, the regulatory engineer. The regulatory compliance is very critical, I told you. There are companies who lost billions of dollars because they have not complied with the regulatory requirements. You are reading in day-to-day newspapers, big pharma factory, they have come and inspected, they have asked them to close. We have seen a number of such cases throughout the globe because it compromises safety. So regulatory engineering is one. For example, in HCL, we have over 350 engineers. There are engineers from Anna University as well who joined our group. So to focus on regulatory engineering. And then comes medical writing, because clinical writing is also very critical. There are biomedical engineers, biotechnology people, pharma graduates who all get into medical writing for the devices. You need to understand how to use the device and all that. Then comes the design quality engineers. Typically, design engineers, they graduate to the level of design quality engineers for independent reviews. Manufacturing engineering is a big area where you have a number of roles within manufacturing itself to really support the overall day-to-day manufacturing. Material. Today toxicology is a big topic. So you need to ensure that the products they make, there's no carcinogenic subjects which causes cancer. So material analysis is another big area where this needs to be done. Then packaging engineering, reliability engineering. Project management is, of course, very, very critical. the engineers only, typically go into the role of project management, because you need to understand the whole life cycle, put up all the dependencies, estimations, all that. So these are the, roles. I welcome all the students to ask any queries, if you have with respect to roles, because many times engineers ask, what do I do when I join this company, right? And they get a surprise. So I thought I should make use of the opportunity to share these things with all of you. So next comes basically the employability, which is one of the major objectives of this kind of an event. So here is my recommendation. The very first thing, it's not there, but the very first thing that you should actually succeed in your, either as an entrepreneur or a career. Basically, you should have pride and passion. Forget about this technology. Or do I know software? Do I know mechanical engineering? Do I know electrical engineering? That's all secondary. The very first thing that you need is actually a pride and passion in whatever you do. Whether you write a software, whether you do a testing, or whether you do the manufacturing. You have pride and passion. That's the tagline of HCL. We have seen people, succeeding to greater heights because of that. You can go and see anybody who was successful. This will be the basic thing. The second thing that we are talking, typically I'm addressing more of medical industry, safety. Safety should be the primary thing that should be kept in your mind. In whatever you do, whether you do testing, you suddenly see, for example, an infusion pump is delivering an important drug in the hospital, ICU. Assume there is a software defect, or there is a switch which is not working. Suddenly they have to stop the drug because patient is in some area. Assume the switch is not working properly. In an ATM machine, if the switch doesn't work, it's okay. You lose the money. But in an ICU, if you are unable to stop the drug, it's a serious problem. There are multiple companies in the world where production is completely stopped because of such problems. So safety is very, very critical. That should be actually in the blood of everybody who works in the medtech industry. Next, third one is the compliance to standards. That is another very, because there are a lot of companies who come and start products, whether really, they are meeting the requirements. So compliance standards. Some of the generic stuff, my recommendation to the young friends is basically, you choose a role. What do you want to do when you join a company? You want to be the designer? You want to be a good tester? You want to be a manufacturing engineer? You want to be a sales engineer? So choose the role, probably at least in the last year or so. Focus in building skills related to the role. You will flourish. Because we should always see the, sportsmen or actors. They've all succeeded, they become famous because, very simple, they are very passionate about what they want to do in life. So, the one that is talked a lot in multiple forums is the, written and oral communication skill. It's becoming very critical because when you really describe a problem, a defect in the product, assume a service engineer goes to the field and he sees a problem and he needs to describe the problem to the person who has developed the product. He has to write a good, description of the problem. We have seen major challenges with some of the engineers. They are unable to describe what exactly is the defect in the product. So, good written and oral communication skill is very, very critical. Whatever function you do, it can be manufacturing, sales, service, or design development. The last one, I think my friend Mr. Shashi is there. So you should leverage your final year project. The reason why I'm quoting that is, today not much, because, you try to leverage what's available in by some third-party companies and all that. Kindly leverage your final year project. It will go a long way in terms of giving you a career path. With this, I once again thanks for the opportunity, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. You have taken the entire audience in such a wonderful way, starting with, what the opportunities are, where this industry is, and also ending up with what is required from the student community in terms of upskilling and in terms of choosing the right kind of role. That was a wonderfully, the session was taken so wonderfully. Thank you very much, sir. And over to Mr. Sashi Kumar, Managing Director, Phoenix Medical Systems.
Kalai Vanakkam. Good morning to all of you. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to expose myself to the students here. Let me start. Okay, I mean, let them start. How many of you are thinking of starting your own company? Raise your hands. Atmanirbhar Bharat, that's good. That's fantastic. I think we should, get into that spirit of, Atmanirbhar Bharat. That's fantastic, because I did this. I was like one among you 32 years back. I started a company myself. Yeah. Let me introduce the company so that you get an idea of what we do. So one of the things which I always say is that, keep a focus not in the engineering skills, which all of us do. We always keep our engineering skills as, I am good in engineering, I can do a lot of math, do whatever things. But nobody thinks about what should I deliver and what should that particular person or the patient or anyone should be, happy with. That's a passion you'll have to develop, not passion just in engineering. Yes, you develop a passion in engineering, but the most important thing being the passion in what you're delivering. That's very, very important. At the moment, we have around 3 factories. We are the first company, Indian company, in this maternal neonatal space, which got the CE and ISO marks and so on. We are one of the companies which have got, started sending products internationally. We have got around 60 countries on which we export. And of course, most of our products today are premium, and we give a very good premium quality. Sorry. Yeah. So that's we have manufacturing facilities. We have it in Sriperumbudur today. We have in Pondicherry and in Vizag. All, as I would say, I was like a student like you 32 years back, and I'm able to do this today. We have a DSIR recognized R&D center at Chennai, which is very important because at the end of the day, you need a good R&D center, and the recognition helps you to collaborate with the institutions, which is again very important because a lot of young students like you can come up with a lot of good ideas, and it's very nice to collaborate and bring out a lot of products together. One of the things which I definitely would also, sort of put your mind on, it's not me. If you are given 1 hour to solve a problem, you're given 1 hour to solve a problem, what will you do? This was a question. 1 hour to solve a problem. So most of the time, we have a tendency, because we have been brought in a culture where you'll have to be the first. So we try to, somehow do things immediately. But that's not the sense which we will have to get. More and more, we see it internationally also. People get into the problem. 1 hour was given. 55 minutes you should spend on the problem. Solution will come in 5 minutes. But if you don't spend time on the problem, you will never come up with a solution, a proper solution. You will be on as I would say, a solution which will be, just a solution, that's it. But we need, today, India has to go to the next level. And that can happen only if our people, our minds can work on problems, think about what is the problem, and then come out with a good solution. And as I said, please think now onwards. Let's, any problem given to you, think on the problem for a lot of time, anything you take, you can think of a lot of, various, I would say, various angles on the problem, and then come up with a solution. This is very, very important. That's the reason I'm telling it here. As a student, wherever you go, be it, HCL or any other place you go, remember this very clearly. Problem, you'll have to get into the problem, sink into the problem, and solve it. And as somebody, as the Japanese say, when you ask somebody, a fish tank is there or a pond is there, and if somebody is asking, what is this fish eating? Now I can stand outside and say that, okay, the fish should be eating this, we should be, doing this and that and that all that. That's the reason why we are not talking about getting deep into the water. Get deep into the water, see what's happening, and then you will understand what fish is eating. That's very, very important. That's why we say deep into water, yeah? Our company has, from the beginning, as I said, all the certifications and so on. We are there in various segments, and of course, during COVID, we are also there in the COVID care products. We are there in infant care, maternal care, COVID, and assistive technology. And this the neonatal segment, what we have. Recently, I mean, we are sending these Embrace warmers, which is, again, along with Stanford University. These warmers are now going to Ukraine because a lot of people, or a lot of women are there in the bomb shelters, and they cannot, they do not have the full facility of a neonatal intensive care unit, and there is no way the babies can be saved, and therefore we are sending these. It is going out of our factory in Chennai. Although these are the infant care products, and the maternal care products, I'm just giving a glimpse. And this is the COVID. This is a big story. The R&D engineers, full-spirited, basically because my philosophy is to look at what the problems are with the end person, and therefore the team in Phoenix worked for 100 days, sitting in our R&D center, and came out with a product, which is the only product in India which was developed during COVID, which has got a CE certificate today. I mean, that's fantastic. And I would definitely give a lot of credit to the government of Tamilnadu because they helped us. Yeah, they helped us, go to those places and kept everything open, whichever was required during COVID. Assistive technology is another area which is very, very important, and it's going to be very, very important in the days to come. So you would have seen the cane for the blind, which has got a sensing device. We have also the standing wheelchair, which, almost every person on a wheelchair is always sitting to make them stand by their own. It's a very important thing, so that's what we have done. And then we have the refreshable braille display, basically because if a blind person has to read, it's very difficult, read or write, it's very difficult. And we have a computer basically for the blind person. That's what we have done. But what am I saying? Assist technology. That's a very important area because more and more people having diabetics in India. We know India is the capital for diabetes, and you clearly know these people have some sort of a disability, and these disabilities can be overcome only if you have devices, technological devices which can be given to them, and that's a big opportunity today. I'm sure all of you will take it up, whether you are your own or some other company. Now, as what Mr. Balamurugan had given you, I'm coming from the other side. I'm looking at the patient side. We have screening, diagnosis, treatment, restoration, monitoring. That's the kind of thinking, that's the kind of requirement which is there. So where you plug in is your problem. I would say you can take it up anywhere. There's a lot of opportunities. Every little stuff which I've said, you can get in there. Yeah. And if you look at the healthcare industry in India, you would find most of the companies less than $2 million US, which means, okay, of course, I would put it in Indian rupee. Approximately less than 25 crores is what you find most of the Indian medical equipment companies. And as you go down, also it becomes multinational companies which have got more than, the 100 millions are always bigger multinational companies, not Indian companies. Next gen skill, as what my previous speaker has also said, we have a lot of things which are very, very important for the next generation. I'm sure all of you understand today. I'm surprised that most of the medical device industry, we are struggling digitally, but if the governments have gone digital very nicely. Today, everything is digital. So we are already late in terms of digital into hospitals, into all those places. It's really sad to see that we are still lagging. Yes, I understand, because in medical, you need to do regulatory approvals, clinical trials, and so on. It takes time. Yes, I understand, but doesn't mean that we cannot become digital. So it's very important. And today, none of the hospitals are connected. None of the patients are connected. It's very, very sad, but there's a big opportunity there where we can, bring up these things. And again, as I say, whether you do it yourself or go into a company and do it, please do it. Yeah, that's the thing. And of course, Another very important thing, augmented reality is another very, very important area. Because if you look at it, most of the hospitals, they are training with a patient. Everywhere you can't get, diseases with, patients. Sometimes you can't. So if you can have an augmented reality or, stuff like that, then what happens is you're doing the training programs, upskilling, based on good, augmented reality or virtual reality. So this is very, very important. That's an area which is going to really grow well in the medical space. And I've seen it in Israel, where the training programs they go through, because upskilling is very, very important. They have got to keep on training the medical staff. We also know very clearly that something called a CME is there for doctors. Continuous medical education is a requirement. The points are given for doctors, so it's very important for them to do upskilling. Unfortunately, we do not have that in engineering side. Nobody asks us whether you're upskilling yourself. No, but that's good in one way. But then for doctors, they don't. They have to keep on upskilling, and for that, augmented reality or virtual reality is very, very important. So that area is going to really springboard and go. That's of course. As what I would say, the UI, UX design. Today, that's one area. A lot of money is available in that area. UX and UI design. Those who have done that, they are going to be, multimillionaires, because a lot less is there, but then demand is too much. Because any product, be it computer, be it your phones, everywhere, the usability is a very important area. You need a screen which can be, easily, as I would say, intuitively worked on, and therefore that becomes a very critical area, and a lot of people are working on it. Of course, the resources are small in terms of really experienced people, and therefore that's a big area there to get into. Of course, non-tech area, patient experience, patient management, equipment management, health data analysis, and of course, because of the health data analysis, you will do artificial intelligence and machine learning. Yes, so of course, this is one thing which we are talking about. We want more and more sensors. This is one thing which, again, India is lagging. We do not have any sensor-based companies in India. Very sad. We all have to take everything for biomedical engineering, starting from temperature sensing to any sensor manufactured internationally and brought in. Very, very sad, basically, because we're totally dependent on any sensing. If you don't sense, no instrumentation is going to work. So it's a very big area, which I think, be it, again, as I said, be it in your own way, we want to start it off, because that's a big opportunity again. Medical robotics is coming up in a big way. I mean, I'm sure that most of you would have at least heard where your eye, surgery is done, or eye surgery or correction is done by robotics. That's again an area, a big area. Surgery is going to be a big area. Again, there is, as I said, exoskeletal devices, which makes you walk. A disabled person can walk. So those are things which are going to be coming up in a big way. So that is again another area which I think we should talk about. Point of care devices. Again, this is going to be critical, because if you go to a home care site, then you need a device which is doing the diagnosis immediately. Diagnosis immediate is very important. So that's another thing. And of course, the home care therapy and monitoring, which is totally different from the normal hospital monitoring devices. And of course, as I keep saying, the most important thing is all of us have to really think about patient, patient experience and enhancement. Of course, the medical device industry is going to grow. 50 billion is the kind of projection for India. So we're going to be really growing very well year after year. All of us know very clearly, I don't know how many of you know, India is the pharmacy of the world. How many youngsters know about it? Raise your hands. India is the pharmacy for the world. Not many. So that's what I'm saying. So you'll have to be in reality. You need to find what we are doing. If you look at it, look at the paper, vaccines, many of the vaccines were going only from India. Yes. So many drugs, including US, was asking for drugs from India. So we became the capital for our pharmacy for the world. Can we become the pharmacy for, the hub for medical devices? We should be the hub. We can be the hub. We have the technologists. We have the young minds like you, which can take the country forward. Of course, that's the kind of information. This is, of course, very old. And as I said, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a huge gap today. There's a lot of opportunities. Let's go there. Yeah? And one thing which I really want to, emphasize here, I find a lot of people having a hesitation to take up a sales job. How many of you are willing to take a sales job? Raise the hands. Only a couple of them. I don't understand, because if you look at it, a doctor or anyone needs to understand the product, and that comes up only if you go and explain the product. And that happens only if there is a salesperson. And in a company, if you look at it, the sales is one thing which is bringing in revenue to the company. So they have much bigger strength in the company. They are the people who are bringing in money into the company. So remember that very clearly. Those who are bringing in money in the company are favored very heavily. So anywhere you go, if you are in the part of revenue, you are a blue-eyed boy. So it's very important that you think that way and then get in. Thank you.
I would say an absolutely fantabulous session by both the speakers. I think in just about 45 minutes, what they have done is to throw open in front of us thousands of opportunities, both in terms of employability and in terms of new businesses that can come into. Particularly the different areas that you narrated, sir, in terms of tech and non-tech, and the kind of opportunities in front of us. In fact, yesterday I was talking to my nephew about, since this topic, he is doing something in biotech. I said, okay, I wanted to understand a student perspective. On board it is, okay, tell me what's going to happen. Then as I was having the conversation, I said, no, sales and marketing don't take the andre. But after hearing you, the last question you asked, how many of us, but I see a lot of potential, looking at the kind of opportunities you have shown to them. I think it's a fabulous session. I mean, it's a great thing to take it forward. Like as students, whenever I used to see a lot of engineering college, many students standing outside, my only thing will be, what is this country going to do with all these wonderful students? Young India is always a concern that's been in some corner. But yesterday and after today, listening to what you're saying, I think we have a great future in considering India is going to be the world's pharmacy, which I'm very, very sure it must be a very new tagline for you all to know, a reality, right? Thank you very much, sir. And please wait for the mementos to begin. And everybody, please, note down all your questions. Our volunteers will be giving you a small slip. Please write your name, your query, and to which speaker, and they'll collect it and you will be responded to. Thank you. Great insight, and I'm sure I would want to definitely with you. I'm with family, and of course I do connect to the college students in various